The auditorium was filled with 2,000 educators, the kind of people who spend their own money on classroom supplies, the kind who stay late to tutor kids nobody else believes in. And tonight, they were all watching me. I stood at that podium holding a crystal trophy that read, State Superintendent of the Year. The spotlights were warm on my face, my hands were steady. Behind me, a screen displayed photos of the rural schools I'd transformed, the literacy programs I'd built from nothing. I was about to thank my husband Marcus and my stepdaughter when I saw movement in the third row. My mother stood up. Margaret Fairbanks, 60 years old, Chanel suit, pearls that cost more than most people's cars. Her hair was perfect. Her smile was practiced. And she was walking toward the stage with her arms already opening, already performing for the cameras. "That's my daughter," she called out, loud enough for the microphones to catch it. "I'm so proud." The audience started to turn. Some smiled, thinking this was a sweet moment. A mother's pride. They didn't know. 4 years ago, this woman removed me from the family group chat on the night before Mother's Day. She sent a message to everyone we knew. Ingrid chose to be a mediocre teacher. She is no longer my daughter. She told her country club friends I was volunteering in Africa because she was too ashamed to admit her daughter taught 5th grade in a small town. And now she was climbing the steps to my stage, reaching for me, reaching for the cameras, reaching for a moment she could post on social media to prove she'd always supported me. I held the microphone closer. The room went quiet. "Mrs. Fairbanks," I said clearly, calmly, 4 years ago, you told me you no longer saw me as your daughter. I am simply respecting your decision." I turned to the security guard standing near the stage stairs. "Could you please escort this woman back to her seat?" My mother froze, one foot on the stage, one hand gripping the railing. Her face went from performative joy to genuine shock in less than a second. 2,000 educators turned to stare at her. And I smiled for the first time that night, because this wasn't about revenge. This was about truth. To understand what happened on that stage, you need to understand the Fairbanks family. You need to understand what my mother values more than love, more than loyalty, more than her own children. Status. My mother, Margaret, didn't marry into wealth. She clawed her way into it. She married my father, Gerald Fairbanks, when he was a junior partner at a law firm. She spent 30 years turning him into a senior partner, turning their home into a showpiece, and turning their children into trophies she could display. My older sister Victoria became a plastic surgeon, the kind who works on celebrities, the kind whose Instagram has 200,000 followers, the kind my mother introduces as Dr. Fairbanks at every single opportunity. My older brother Bradley became a corporate attorney. He drives a Tesla. He has a corner office. He married a woman whose father owns a chain of luxury car dealerships. And then there was me, Ingrid, the youngest. The disappointment. I became a teacher. Growing up, I watched my mother orchestrate every detail of our lives like we were pieces on a chessboard. Victoria's medical school applications, Bradley's networking events, the annual Christmas card photo shoot that took 6 hours because the lighting had to be perfect. But I was different. I didn't want the corner office. I didn't want the designer clothes or the country club membership. I wanted to teach kids how to read. I wanted to help the ones who came to school hungry, the ones who couldn't afford new notebooks, the ones the system had already written off. My mother called it wasting my potential. I called it finding my purpose. The breaking point came 4 years ago. I was 30 years old. I had just accepted a teaching position at Millbrook Elementary, a small rural school 2 hours from the city where my family lived. The salary was $38,000 a year. The school had outdated textbooks and a leaking roof. I was excited. I called my mother to tell her about it. I thought maybe, just maybe, she would hear the joy in my voice and be happy for me. Instead, she said, "You're making a mistake. Again." "Mom, these kids need teachers who care. The school is struggling, but I can make a difference there." "Ingrid, your sister is performing reconstructive surgery on burn victims. Your brother is negotiating multi-million-dollar contracts. And you want to babysit children in the middle of nowhere for poverty wages?" "I'm not babysitting. I'm teaching. You're embarrassing this family." That sentence hung in the air like poison. I have to go, Mom, I said quietly. Fine, but don't expect me to brag about this at the club. She hung up. That was March. By April, the family group chat had become unbearable. Every message was Victoria posting about her latest procedure or Bradley sharing photos from some luxury resort. My mother would respond with strings of heart emojis and comments like, "So proud of my successful children." Whenever I posted anything, a photo of my classroom or a story about a student, the chat went silent. Then came Mother's Day weekend. I was planning to drive to the city to have brunch with the family. I'd bought my mother an expensive candle from her favorite boutique. I was trying. I was always trying. On Saturday night, at 11 p.m., my phone buzzed. "You have been removed from the group of Fairbanks family." I stared at the screen. My hands started shaking. I opened my messages. There was a new text from my mother, a private message, just to me. "Ingrid, I've made a decision. Your career choice is an embarrassment to this family. You chose to be a mediocre teacher instead of pursuing something meaningful. Until you change your path, you are no longer welcome in family communications. You are no longer my daughter. Do not come to brunch tomorrow. Do not contact me. I will tell people you are volunteering in Africa. It's easier than explaining the truth." I read it 3 times. I sat on the floor of my tiny apartment and I cried until I couldn't breathe. The next morning, Mother's Day, I called my sister. "Victoria, did you see what Mom did?" "Yeah." Her voice was flat, uninterested. "And you're okay with this?" "Ingrid, you have to understand Mom's position. She built a reputation. She has friends at the club who have children who are doctors, lawyers, executives. When they ask about you, what is she supposed to say? She's supposed to say I'm a teacher. She's supposed to say I'm helping kids. That's not impressive, Ingrid. That's the reality." "So you think I deserve this?" Victoria sighed. "I think you made your choice. Now you have to live with the consequences." She hung up. I called Bradley next. "Dude, I can't get involved in this," he said before I even finished explaining. "Mom's already upset. Just apologize and maybe go back to school for a master's in something useful, educational administration or whatever. Then she'll let you back in." "I'm not apologizing for being a teacher." "Then I don't know what to tell you, Ingrid. You made your bed." He hung up too. I sat alone in my apartment on Mother's Day. No family, no brunch, no phone calls. Just me and the candle I'd bought that would never be given. Within a week, I heard from my cousin Rachel. Rachel was the only one in the extended family who ever treated me like a human being. She called me crying. "Ingrid, I'm so sorry. I just had lunch with Aunt Margaret. She told everyone you're in Kenya doing mission work with orphans. She's showing people fake photos she found online. She's telling them you're too busy saving lives to come home. She's lying to cover up the fact that she disowned me for being a teacher." Yes, and everyone believes her. They think you're some kind of saint. Meanwhile, she blocked your number and told Victoria and Bradley not to speak to you. I felt numb. "Rachel, I need you to do something for me. Anything. Don't tell them the truth. Not yet. Let her keep lying. I want to see how far she'll take this." Rachel hesitated. "Are you sure?" "I'm sure. Because here's what my mother didn't know. I wasn't staying a classroom teacher forever. I had plans. I had ambition. I just had a different definition of success than she did. While my mother was busy telling the country club that I was saving African orphans, I was working 16-hour days. I was writing grants. I was piloting literacy programs. I was attending conferences. I was building a reputation in the education world that had nothing to do with designer handbags or luxury cars. I was building something real, and I was doing it without my family's name, without their money, and without their approval. For 4 years, my mother told people I was overseas. For 4 years, she posted vague Facebook statuses about praying for her daughter who serves the less fortunate abroad. For 4 years, she collected sympathy and admiration from people who thought she was the mother of a humanitarian. She had no idea I was 2 hours away, climbing the ranks of the state education system. She had no idea that the mediocre teacher she'd disowned was about to become one of the most powerful educators in the state. And she definitely had no idea that when the truth came out, it would destroy the perfect image she'd spent 4 years crafting. 6 months after my mother erased me from the family, I met Marcus. It was a Saturday morning in September. I was at the Millbrook Farmers Market buying vegetables for the week. My budget was tight. Teachers don't make much. And I was living in a 1-bedroom apartment above a hardware store. But I was happy. I was free. I was examining tomatoes when I heard a voice behind me. "Those are from my farm. They're good. I promise I'm not just saying that because I grew them." I turned around and saw him. Tall, maybe 6'2", flannel shirt, worn jeans, hands that had clearly spent years working the soil. He had kind eyes, the kind that crinkle at the corners when he smiles. "Are you the farmer?" I asked. "Marcus Chen, 3rd generation. My grandparents bought the land in 1968. We talked for 20 minutes, about tomatoes, about the weather, about how the school year was going. He didn't ask what I did for a living in that judgmental way people do when they're trying to size you up. He just listened. Before I left, he handed me a basket of vegetables. "First-time customer discount," he said. "How much?" "Free. But only if you come back next week and tell me if you liked them." I did come back, and the week after that, and the week after that. By November, we were having coffee together every Sunday after the market closed. By December, he'd told me about his late wife, Sarah, who had died of cancer 3 years earlier. About his daughter Emma, who was 7 years old and struggling in school. "She's smart," Marcus said, stirring his coffee slowly. "But she's been sad since her mom died. Her teacher says she's behind in reading. I try to help her, but I don't really know how." "I could help," I said. "If you want?" His eyes lit up. "Really?" "I'm a teacher. It's what I do." That's how it started. I began tutoring Emma twice a week after school. She was shy at first, barely making eye contact. But slowly, she opened up. We read books together. We made up stories. We turned reading into a game instead of a chore. By February, Emma was reading at grade level. By March, she was reading above it. And somewhere in those months of sitting at Marcus's kitchen table, helping his daughter with homework, eating dinners he cooked from vegetables he grew, I fell in love. Not with status, not with wealth, not with someone who could elevate my position in society. I fell in love with a man who wore dirt under his fingernails and taught his daughter that kindness mattered more than money. My mother would have hated him, which made me love him even more. Marcus proposed to me on a spring evening in his field. No fancy restaurant, no orchestra, just him, me, and a sunset over rows of growing corn. "I know I can't give you the life some men could," he said, holding a simple ring. "But I can give you honesty. I can give you loyalty. I can give you a family that will never make you feel less than you are." I said yes before he finished the sentence. We got married at the courthouse 2 weeks later. Emma was our flower girl. My cousin Rachel was the only family member I invited. She cried happy tears and hugged me so hard I couldn't breathe. I didn't tell my mother. She thought I was in Africa. Let her keep thinking that. While I was building a new family, I was also building a new career. My principal at Millbrook Elementary, Dr. Patricia Owens, saw something in me. She pushed me to apply for district-level positions. She wrote recommendation letters. She mentored me. "You're too good to stay in one classroom forever," she told me. "These kids need you, but thousands of kids need you." I became a district literacy coordinator within a year. I wrote grants that brought in $500,000 for new books and technology. I trained other teachers. I built programs that turned struggling schools into success stories. People in the education world started noticing. By my 2nd year of marriage, I was offered a position as assistant superintendent for curriculum and instruction. The salary was $85,000, more than double what I'd made as a teacher. I took it. By my 3rd year, I was implementing statewide reading initiatives. I was speaking at conferences. I was being interviewed for education journals. My mother still thought I was in Kenya. Rachel would send me updates occasionally, screenshots from the family group chat I was no longer part of. Victoria posting about her new beach house. Finally have a place to relax. So blessed. Bradley posting about his promotion. Partner before 40. Dreams do come true. My mother responding. My children make me so proud. Well, the ones who chose meaningful careers. Ingrid is still in Africa doing her charity work. We miss her, but we're proud she's helping those poor children. I would read these messages to Marcus at night. He would shake his head. Do you want to tell them the truth? He'd ask. Not yet, I'd say. Let them find out on their own. Emma, now 10 years old and thriving, would overstep our conversations sometimes. Why don't they know about us? She asked me once. Because, sweetheart, some people only love you when you're successful in the way they define success, and I'd rather be loved for who I am than for what I've achieved. That's sad, Emma said. It is, but it taught me something important. Family isn't about blood, it's about who shows up. Marcus squeezed my hand. The turning point came in my 4th year away from my family. I was nominated for State Superintendent of the Year. It's one of the highest honors an educator can receive. The ceremony was going to be televised. The governor would be there, the press would be there, and my name would be everywhere. I got the call on a Tuesday afternoon. I was in my office when my phone rang. It was Rachel. She sounded panicked. Ingrid, we have a problem. What's wrong? The announcement went out this morning. You're being honored next month. It's in all the education publications. And Ingrid, it made the regular news too. Channel 7 did a segment on you. My stomach dropped. Did they see it? Your mom saw it. She called me screaming. She thought it was a mistake. She thought someone with your name was being honored. Then she Googled you. And she found everything. Your positions, your awards, your marriage to Marcus, Emma, all of it. I closed my eyes. What did she say? Rachel's voice cracked. She said, that ungrateful little liar, she's been here the whole time. She made me look like a fool. I didn't make her look like anything. She chose to lie. I know. But Ingrid, that's not the worst part. What's the worst part? She's planning to come to your ceremony. I felt my blood turn cold. What? I'm in the family group chat. I saw the messages. She told Victoria and Bradley that they're all going to attend. She wants to sit in the front row. She wants to take pictures with you. She wants to post on social media about how she always knew you'd be successful and how she supported you from the beginning. She disowned me, Rachel. I know. But she's trying to rewrite history. She's telling people she gave you tough love to motivate you. She's saying she always believed in you but wanted you to find your own path. I felt rage building in my chest, the kind of rage that's been simmering for 4 years. Send me the screenshots, I said. What are you going to do? I'm going to let them come. What? Ingrid, they're going to try to hijack your moment. I know. And I'm going to let them try. Because when they do, I'm going to make sure everyone sees exactly who they are. That night, Rachel sent me the messages. Margaret Fairbanks. We need to attend Ingrid's award ceremony. This is a huge opportunity for the family image. Victoria. Wear the red dress. Bradley. Bring Stephanie. We'll sit in the VIP section. Victoria. Do we have tickets? Margaret. We don't need tickets. She's our daughter. They'll let us in. Bradley. Should we call her first? Margaret. No. We'll surprise her. It'll make for better photos. I'll tell the press we've been supporting her behind the scenes all along. Victoria. What if she brings up the Africa thing? Margaret. She won't. She's too smart to embarrass herself publicly. Besides, I'll spin it as a misunderstanding. I'll say I was protecting her privacy. I showed the messages to Marcus. They're going to use you, he said quietly. I know. You could have security ban them from entering. I could, but I won't. Why not? I looked at him. At this man who loved me when I had nothing, who married me in a courthouse, who raised his daughter to value education over expensive clothes, because they need to see what they lost. They need to see the family I built without them, and they need to hear me tell the truth in front of 2,000 people. Marcus smiled. You're going to burn them down. No, I said. I'm going to let them burn themselves down. I'm just going to hold up the match. The ceremony was 3 weeks away. I didn't call my mother. I didn't call Victoria or Bradley. I didn't acknowledge that I knew they were planning to ambush my moment. I just prepared. I wrote my speech. I practiced it. I made sure every word was true and every sentence was deliberate. And I told Marcus and Emma exactly what was going to happen. When they show up, I explained to Emma, they're going to pretend they've been proud of me all along. They're going to smile and wave, and I'm going to ignore them. Why? Emma asked. Because ignoring someone who craves attention is the cruelest thing you can do to them. And then, when my mother tries to take credit for my success, I'm going to tell everyone the truth. Will it hurt? Emma asked. Yes, but some hurts are necessary. The night before the ceremony, I couldn't sleep. Marcus held me while I stared at the ceiling. Are you ready? He asked. I think so. You don't have to do this. We can leave early. We can skip the whole thing. No, I said firmly. I earned this. I worked for 4 years without their support, without their money, without their approval. I'm not letting them steal this moment. Then let's show them what a real family looks like. The next morning, I put on my navy power suit. I did my makeup carefully. I looked at myself in the mirror and I saw someone my mother wouldn't recognize. I saw someone strong, someone successful, someone who didn't need the Fairbanks name to matter. We arrived at the auditorium 2 hours early. Emma wore a dress she'd picked out herself. Marcus wore a suit he'd bought just for this occasion. We looked like a family, a real family. As people started arriving, I saw them. My mother, my sister, my brother's wife Stephanie. They walked in like they owned the place. Designer clothes, perfect hair, smiles plastered on their faces. They spotted me across the room. My mother's face lit up. She started walking toward me, arms already extending for a hug she hadn't earned. I turned away. I took Marcus's hand and walked in the opposite direction. Behind me, I heard my mother's voice. Ingrid, sweetheart. I kept walking. The ceremony was about to begin, and my family was about to learn what happens when you abandon someone who doesn't stay abandoned. They sat in the 3rd row, right in the center. Impossible to miss. My mother had positioned herself perfectly, close enough to be seen by the cameras, close enough to reach the stage quickly, but not so close that it looked desperate. She was a master at this, at calculating social optics, at manipulating perception. Victoria sat to her left, wearing that red dress my mother had instructed her to wear. It was designer, probably cost $3,000. She kept checking her phone, probably making sure her social media posts were getting enough likes. Bradley sat to my mother's right with his wife Stephanie. He looked uncomfortable. He kept adjusting his tie. Maybe he had a conscience after all. Maybe. But my mother looked radiant. She wore a cream Chanel suit with gold buttons. Her hair was styled in soft waves. Her makeup was flawless. She looked like someone's proud mother. She looked like a liar. The lights dimmed. The ceremony began. There were speeches from the governor, testimonials from teachers whose lives I'd changed, videos of students from the schools I'd transformed, kids who were reading for the first time, kids who were graduating because someone finally gave them the resources they needed. I sat on the stage with the other honorees. I could feel my mother's eyes on me the entire time, watching, calculating, waiting for her moment. During one of the video segments, I glanced at the 3rd row. My mother was smiling at me. Not a real smile, a performance smile. The kind she used at charity galas when she wanted people to think she cared. She mouthed the words, "So proud of you." I looked away. Marcus was sitting in the 5th row with Emma. He gave me a small nod, a reminder. You've got this. Emma waved at me with both hands. Pure joy, pure love, no agenda. That's what real family looks like. Finally, it was time for my award. The presenter, Dr. Helen Martinez, the State Commissioner of Education, walked to the podium. Our final honoree tonight, she began, is someone who has redefined what it means to be an educational leader. 5 years ago, she was a 5th grade teacher in a struggling rural school. Today, She oversees curriculum and instruction for over 300 schools across the state. The screen behind her showed my photo, my credentials, my achievements. She has brought in over $12 million in grant funding. She has trained more than 2,000 teachers. She has increased literacy rates in underserved communities by 43%. She has done all of this with grace, with humility, and with an unwavering commitment to the children others forgot. My mother shifted in her seat. She was getting ready. I could see it. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor to present the State Superintendent of the Year Award to Dr. Ingrid Chen. The audience erupted in applause. I stood and walked to the podium. Dr. Martinez handed me the crystal trophy. It was heavy, substantial, real. We posed for a photo together. The camera flashes were blinding. Then Dr. Martinez stepped aside, and I was alone at the microphone. 2,000 people stared at me. I took a breath. Thank you, Dr. Martinez. Thank you to the selection committee, and thank you to every educator in this room who shows up every single day for kids who need you. More applause. 5 years ago, I was teaching 5th grade in Millbrook Elementary. The building was old, the resources were limited, but the kids were amazing. They just needed someone to believe in them. I paused. I want to thank the people who believed in me during that time. My principal, Dr. Patricia Owens, who saw potential in me when I couldn't see it in myself. My colleagues who collaborated with me on late nights and early mornings. And most importantly, I want to thank my family. My mother sat up straighter. This was it. This was her moment. I want to thank my husband, Marcus Chen. Marcus stood in the 5th row. The spotlight found him. He looked embarrassed and proud at the same time. Marcus is a farmer. He grows food that feeds our community. He works harder than anyone I know. And when I came into his life, he didn't care that I was just a teacher. He didn't care that I didn't have money or status or connections. He loved me for who I was, not what I could do for his image. People smiled. Some wiped their eyes. I also want to thank my daughter, Emma. Emma stood up next to Marcus. She was beaming. Emma, you taught me that family isn't about biology. It's about showing up. It's about being there on the hard days and celebrating the good days. You call me mom not because you have to, but because you want to, and that means more to me than any award ever could. The audience was fully crying now. My mother's smile had frozen on her face. She hadn't been mentioned. She was still waiting. These 2 people, I continued, are my family. They supported me when I had nothing to offer them. They celebrated my small victories. They held me when I failed. They never once asked me to be anything other than who I am. I looked directly at the 3rd row, at my mother, at Victoria, at Bradley. That's what real family does. My mother's face changed. The smile disappeared. Her jaw tightened. She knew I wasn't going to mention her. I turned back to the audience. And to every teacher in this room who has ever been told their career choice is a waste, that they should have done something more prestigious, something more lucrative, I want you to hear this. You matter. What you do matters. And anyone who can't see the value in educating the next generation doesn't deserve a place in your life. The applause was deafening. Teachers jumped to their feet. They cheered. They understood. They'd all been there. They'd all been dismissed by someone who valued money over meaning. I held the trophy high, and that's when it happened. My mother stood up. She didn't wait for the applause to die down. She didn't ask permission. She just stood up and started walking toward the stage. The audience noticed. People stopped clapping. They turned to watch. My mother's face was composed, but I could see the rage underneath, the desperation, the need to control the narrative. She reached the stairs to the stage. Security moved toward her, but she waved them off with the confidence of someone who had never been told no. "That's my daughter!" she called out, loud enough for everyone to hear. She climbed the first step, the second step, the third step. She was almost to the stage when she opened her arms wide, reaching for me. "I'm so proud," she announced. The whole room was watching now. This was the moment I'd prepared for. I stepped to the edge of the stage. I held the microphone close to my mouth. My voice was steady, calm, clear. Mrs. Fairbanks, not Mom, not Mother, Mrs. Fairbanks. She froze, one foot on the stage, one hand gripping the railing. 4 years ago, you told me I was no longer your daughter because I chose to be a teacher. You removed me from the family group chat. You told everyone I was in Africa because you were too ashamed to admit your daughter was educating children in a rural school. The audience gasped. My mother's face went pale. You didn't call me when I got married. You didn't meet my husband. You've never met my daughter. You haven't spoken to me in 4 years. My voice didn't shake. I'd practiced this too many times. And now, because my success has become public, you want to pretend you supported me all along. You want to stand on the stage and take credit for something you actively tried to destroy. People in the audience were pulling out their phones, recording this. This was going to be everywhere by tomorrow. So no, Mrs. Fairbanks, you don't get to do this. You don't get to rewrite history. You don't get to hug me for the cameras and pretend you were ever proud of the choice I made. I turned to the security guard standing near the stage stairs. Could you please escort this woman back to her seat? My mother's mouth opened. No sound came out. The security guard, a large man in his 50s, stepped forward gently. Ma'am, I'm going to have to ask you to return to your seat. I'm her mother, my mother hissed. And I'm asking you to leave, I said into the microphone. The security guard took my mother's elbow carefully. She yanked it away. You ungrateful little... Ma'am, the security guard said more firmly, please don't make this harder than it needs to be. My mother looked at me, really looked at me, and in her eyes, I saw something I'd never seen before. Fear. Fear that she'd lost control. Fear that her carefully crafted image was crumbling in real time. Fear that 2,000 people now knew the truth. She turned and walked back down the stairs. Her heels clicked on each step. The sound echoed in the silent auditorium. She returned to her seat. Victoria was staring at her phone, face red. Bradley had his head in his hands. I turned back to the microphone. I'm sorry you all had to witness that, but I want to be clear about something. That woman gave birth to me, but she is not my mother. My mother would have celebrated my choice to serve children. My mother would have supported me when I had nothing. My mother would have loved me unconditionally. I looked at Emma in the audience, and I promised my daughter that I will always be the mother I never had. The standing ovation started slowly. 1 person, then 5, then 20, then the entire auditorium was on their feet. They weren't just applauding my award, they were applauding the truth. They were applauding every person who'd ever been rejected by someone who should have loved them. They were applauding survival. I walked off the stage with my trophy. Marcus and Emma met me in the wings. Emma threw her arms around me. You were so brave, Mom, she whispered. Marcus kissed my forehead. Let's get out of here. But we couldn't leave yet. We had to stay for the reception, for the photos, for the interviews with the press, and I knew my family would be waiting. The reception was held in the grand hall adjacent to the auditorium. Crystal chandeliers, white tablecloths, trays of champagne circulating through crowds of educators who were still buzzing about what they'd just witnessed. I could feel the stares, the whispers, but they weren't judgmental. They were supportive. A woman in her 50s approached me first. She had tears streaming down her face. Thank you, she said, gripping my hand. My father told me teaching was for people who couldn't do anything else. He didn't come to my retirement party after 30 years. What you did up there, you spoke for all of us. More people came. A young man who'd been disowned for becoming a school counselor instead of a doctor. An older teacher whose family still introduced her as just working until she finds something better. A principal whose parents had never once visited her school. They all had the same story. They'd all been dismissed by people who should have loved them. I listened to every single one. I hugged strangers. I cried with people I'd never met. This wasn't just about me anymore. Marcus stood beside me the whole time, his hand on the small of my back. Emma had found a group of teachers, kids, and was showing them the fancy desserts at the buffet table. We'd been there for maybe 20 minutes when I saw them. My mother, Victoria, Bradley, Stephanie. They were huddled near the entrance. My mother's face was red. She was gesturing wildly, clearly arguing with Victoria and Bradley about something. Then my mother's eyes locked on mine across the room. She started walking toward me. The other three followed reluctantly, like prisoners being led to execution. Marcus tensed beside me. "Here we go." "Stay calm," I whispered. My mother stopped 3 feet away from me. Her carefully applied makeup was smudged. Her cream Chanel suit somehow looked less expensive under the harsh reception lighting. "Ingrid," she said. Her voice was tight, controlled. "We need to talk. Privately." "No," I said simply. "Excuse me?" I said no. "Anything you have to say to me, you can say right here." People around us had stopped talking. They were watching, waiting. Victoria stepped forward. "Ingrid, you humiliated Mom in front of thousands of people. The least you can do is give her 5 minutes to explain." "Explain what?" I asked. "Explain how she told me I wasn't her daughter. Explain how she lied to everyone for 4 years. Explain how she only came here tonight to use my success for her own social media clout." Victoria flinched. Bradley cleared his throat. "Look, we all said things we didn't mean. Family fights happen. But what you did on that stage was cruel." I laughed. Actually laughed. "I was cruel." "Yes," my mother said, her voice rising. "You embarrassed me. You made me look like a monster in front of everyone. You had security escort me off the stage like I was some kind of criminal." "You tried to hijack my award ceremony," I said calmly. "You showed up uninvited. You tried to walk onto the stage without permission. What did you think was going to happen?" "I thought my daughter would be happy to see me," my mother shouted. The room went completely silent. "Your daughter," I repeated slowly. 4 years ago, you told me I wasn't your daughter anymore. You put that in writing. You blocked my number. You erased me from your life." I pulled out my phone. I'd kept the screenshot all this time. I turned the screen toward her so she could see her own words from 4 years ago. "Ingrid chose to be a mediocre teacher. She is no longer my daughter." I read it aloud. "Those are your words, Margaret, not mine. Yours." My mother's face went from red to white. "I was angry," she said weakly. "I didn't mean it literally." "You didn't mean it." My voice was getting louder now. 4 years of pain was coming to the surface. "You told the entire family not to speak to me. You invented a lie about me being in Africa because you were too ashamed to admit your daughter was a teacher. You spent 4 years collecting sympathy and praise for being the mother of a humanitarian, when the truth was you'd abandoned your child for choosing a career you deemed beneath you." "I never abandoned you," my mother protested. "Yes, you did." I was shouting now. I didn't care. "You want to know what I did on Mother's Day 4 years ago? The day you sent me that message?" I sat alone in my apartment and cried until I couldn't breathe. I called Victoria and Bradley begging them to help me understand what I'd done wrong, and they both told me I'd made my bed and I had to lie in it. Victoria looked at the floor. Bradley's jaw tightened. "You want to know what I did on Thanksgiving that year? I volunteered at a soup kitchen because I had no family to celebrate with. Christmas. I spent it with Marcus and Emma, 2 people who were practically strangers at the time, because they were kinder to me than my own blood relatives." My mother's hands were shaking. "Ingrid, please." "No." I cut her off. "You don't get to please me. You don't get to show up here after 4 years of silence and expect me to pretend everything is fine because it's convenient for you now." "I made a mistake," my mother said. Her voice cracked. "I was wrong. But you're still my daughter. I gave birth to you. I raised you." "You gave birth to me." I agreed. "But you didn't raise me to be myself. You raised me to be an accessory, a trophy. Something you could show off when I made you look good and hide when I didn't. That's not a mother. That's a narcissist with a breeding program." Victoria gasped. "Ingrid, that's too far." I turned to my sister. "Is it? Tell me." "Victoria, when was the last time Mom introduced you as just Victoria? Not Dr. Fairbanks, the plastic surgeon? Not my daughter who works with celebrities? Just Victoria? Just a person. Victoria opened her mouth, then closed it. She can't, I continued. Because to her, we're not people, we're accomplishments. We're bullet points on her social resume. And the moment I stopped being an impressive bullet point, I stopped existing to her. That's not fair, Bradley said quietly. No, I turned to him. When's the last time you made a decision without wondering what Mom would think? When's the last time you did something just because you wanted to, not because it would look good? Bradley said nothing. I looked at all three of them. My mother, my sister, my brother. You don't love me, I said. You love the idea of me. You love having someone you can point to and say, look what we produced. But you don't actually care about who I am as a person. My mother was crying now, mascara running down her cheeks. That's not true. I love you. You love successful me, I corrected. You love State Superintendent of the Year me, but you didn't love the 5th grade teacher me. You didn't love living in a tiny apartment me. You didn't love me when loving me was inconvenient. I took a step closer to her. We were inches apart now. Do you know what Marcus told me when he proposed? He said, I can't give you the life some men could, but I can give you honesty and loyalty and a family that will never make you feel less than you are. My mother's tears were falling faster now. For that man, I pointed to Marcus, who was standing a few feet away with his hand on Emma's shoulder. That man who you would have looked down on because he's a farmer. That man loved me when I was nobody. He married me when all I had to offer was student loan debt and a used car. He didn't care about my last name or my credentials or whether people at the country club would be impressed. I held up my left hand. The simple wedding band Marcus had given me glinted under the chandeliers. This ring cost $200. Do you know what it's worth to me? Everything. Because it came from someone who loves me, actually loves me. Not the version of me that makes him look good, just me. My mother reached for my hand. I pulled it back. Don't, I said. You don't get to touch me. You don't get to hug me for the cameras. You don't get to repair 4 years of damage with one conversation at a party. Then what do you want from me? My mother cried. What do I have to do? Nothing, I said. There's nothing you can do, because I don't need you anymore. I don't need your approval. I don't need your support. I don't need your name or your connections or your money. I built this life without you. I succeeded without you. And I'm going to keep living without you. Ingrid, please. I'm done, Margaret. I used her first name deliberately. I'm done trying to earn your love. I'm done hoping you'll change. I'm done waiting for you to see me as a person instead of a disappointment. I turned to Victoria and Bradley. And I'm done with both of you too. You chose her over me 4 years ago. You made that decision. Now you get to live with it. Victoria was crying now too. And we were just trying to keep the peace. By sacrificing me, I shook my head. No, you don't get to blame that on peacekeeping. You chose comfort over courage. You chose your inheritance over your sister. You chose wrong. Bradley's voice was barely a whisper. I'm sorry. I'm sure you are, I said. Now, when it's public, when people are watching, when staying silent makes you look bad. But you weren't sorry 4 years ago when I needed you. I picked up my trophy from the table where I'd set it down. I have to go. The press wants interviews. Important people want to talk to me. People who actually value education and progress and children's futures. I started to walk away. My mother grabbed my arm. Ingrid, wait, please. I know I hurt you. I know I was wrong. But you can't just cut us out forever. We're your family. I looked down at her hand on my arm. Then I looked into her eyes. No, I said softly. You were my family, past tense. You ended that 4 years ago. I'm just finally accepting it. I removed her hand from my arm gently but firmly. Goodbye, Margaret. I walked away. Marcus and Emma fell into step beside me. Emma took my hand. Are you okay, Mom? She asked. I looked down at this child who chose to call me Mom even though she didn't have to. This child who loved me not because of what I achieved but because of who I was. Yeah, baby, I said. I'm okay. Behind us, I could hear my mother sobbing. I could hear Victoria trying to comfort her. I could hear Bradley saying something about leaving. I didn't turn around. Marcus squeezed my shoulder. That took guts. It took 4 years, I corrected. But yeah, it's done now. We walked out of the reception hall into the cool night air. The press was waiting outside, camera crews, reporters with microphones. Dr. Chen, can we get a statement about what happened inside? I stopped. Marcus and Emma stood on either side of me. Sure, I said. I was still holding my trophy. What do you want to know? A reporter stepped forward. Is it true your mother tried to crash your award ceremony after not speaking to you for 4 years? It's true, I said. My mother removed me from our family 4 years ago because I chose to be a teacher instead of pursuing what she considered a more prestigious career. She lied to people, saying I was doing charity work overseas. Tonight, she tried to take credit for my success. I refused to allow that. Why go public with this? Another reporter asked. I thought about that question. Really thought about it. Because, I said slowly, there are thousands of teachers out there who have been told their careers don't matter. There are thousands of people who have been rejected by their families for choosing service over status. And I want them to know that their worth is not determined by people who can't see it, not even if those people are their parents. What would you say to your mother if she's watching this? I looked directly into the camera. I would say thank you. Thank you for showing me exactly what kind of parent not to be. Thank you for teaching me that love should never be conditional. And thank you for getting out of my way so I could build something real. I held up my trophy. This award isn't just mine. It belongs to every teacher who was told they weren't good enough, every counselor, every social worker, every person who chose meaning over money. We matter. What we do matters. And we don't need anyone's permission to know that? The cameras flashed. Tomorrow, this would be everywhere. My face, my story, my truth. But tonight, I just wanted to go home. Home to the farmhouse Marcus built with his own hands. Home to the daughter who did her homework at our kitchen table. Home to the family I chose. The family that chose me back. 1 year later. The farmhouse kitchen smelled like cinnamon and coffee. It was a Saturday morning in October. The kind of morning where the light comes through the windows at just the right angle and makes everything look golden. Emma was at the kitchen table doing her homework. She was 11 now, in 6th grade, reading at a 9th grade level. She wanted to be a teacher someday, just like her mom, she said. Marcus was outside harvesting the last of the season's pumpkins. Through the window, I could see him loading them into the truck. He'd gotten a contract with 3 local schools to supply their cafeterias with fresh produce. It was his way of supporting education, he said. I was grading policy proposals at the counter when the mail arrived. Emma ran to get it. She loved checking the mail. She came back with a stack of envelopes and catalogs. This one's fancy, she said, handing me a cream-colored envelope with my name written in elegant calligraphy. I didn't recognize the handwriting. I opened it carefully. Inside was a single piece of heavy cardstock, expensive paper, the kind my mother always used for her correspondence. The letter was handwritten. Dear Ingrid, it has been 1 year since the awards ceremony. 1 year since I saw you on that stage. 1 year since you told me the truth in front of all those people. I want to talk. I want to explain. I want to apologize properly. I know I don't deserve your forgiveness. I know I hurt you in ways that can't be undone. But you're still my daughter, and I'm still your mother. And I think we owe it to each other to at least try. Please call me. Please give me a chance. With love. Mom. I read it twice. Emma looked up from her homework. What is it? A letter from Margaret, I said. Emma knew the whole story. We'd never hidden it from her. She knew about the family group chat, the Mother's Day message, the 4 years of silence. Well, what does she want? Emma asked. She wants to talk. She wants to apologize. Are you going to call her? I looked at the letter again, at the careful handwriting, at the word Mom, at the bottom. A year ago, receiving this letter might have broken me, might have made me cry, might have made me hope. But a year had passed, a year of living in this farmhouse with people who loved me unconditionally, a year of watching Emma grow and thrive. A year of falling asleep next to Marcus every night and waking up grateful every morning. A year of building a life that didn't need the Fairbanks family to be complete. I walked to the kitchen drawer where we kept miscellaneous items, old batteries, rubber bands, takeout menus, and in the very back, a folder where I kept important documents. I slid the letter inside the folder without responding to it. "You're not going to call her?" Emma asked. "No," I said simply. "Why not?" I sat down next to Emma at the table. I took her hand. "Because, sweetheart, some apologies come too late. Not because the person can't be forgiven, but because you've already moved on. You've already healed. And going back, even to accept an apology, would be moving backward instead of forward." "But she's your mom." "She gave birth to me," I corrected gently. "But being a mother is more than biology. It's showing up. It's supporting your child even when you don't understand their choices. It's loving them when they're struggling, not just when they're successful." "Like you do with me," Emma said, "like I do with you." Emma thought about this for a moment. What if she keeps trying? What if she sends more letters? Then I'll keep putting them in that folder, unread, unanswered, because I don't owe her my time or my energy anymore. I gave her 18 years of trying to earn her approval. That's enough. Marcus came in from outside, brushing dirt off his jeans. He saw the letter on the table. "Your mother?" he asked. "Yep." "You going to respond?" "Nope." He kissed the top of my head. "Good. You want coffee?" "Always." That was it. That was the whole conversation. Because Marcus understood something my birth family never did. He understood that closure doesn't always come from confrontation. Sometimes it comes from simply choosing peace over perpetual pain. The following week, the news broke. My mother had been quietly removed from the board of her country club's charity committee. The official reason was restructuring. But Rachel, my cousin who still kept me informed, told me the real story. After the awards ceremony, after the video went viral, after thousands of people shared their own stories of being rejected by family members who valued status over substance, Margaret Fairbanks became a liability. The other board members didn't want to be associated with her. Donations to the charity dropped because people didn't want their money going to an organization led by someone who'd publicly disowned her own daughter for being a teacher. Her social circle shrank. Invitations stopped coming. Her phone calls weren't returned. Victoria's practice took a hit too. Several clients canceled their appointments after seeing the video. They didn't want to support someone who'd stood by while their sister was abandoned. Bradley's law firm asked him to take a leave of absence after a journalist wrote an opinion piece about family values and the lawyers who preach them but don't practice them. The Fairbanks family name, once synonymous with prestige and success, was now synonymous with hypocrisy and cruelty. And I didn't feel good about it. But I didn't feel bad either. I felt nothing. Because they were no longer part of my story. 2 months after the letter arrived, I was invited to speak at the National Education Summit in Washington, D.C. 5,000 educators from across the country. The keynote address. I brought Marcus and Emma with me. We stayed in a nice hotel. Not extravagant, but comfortable. Emma was thrilled to order room service. Marcus was thrilled to not have to cook for 3 days. The night before my speech, I was practicing in the hotel room when Emma asked me a question. "Mom, do you ever miss them? Your old family?" I stopped mid-sentence. I sat down on the bed next to her. "Sometimes," I admitted. "Not them, exactly. But the idea of them. I miss having a mother who would call to check on me. I miss having siblings I could share things with, but I don't miss the reality of who they actually were." "That makes sense," Emma said. "Do you ever miss your birth mom?" I asked carefully. We didn't talk about Sarah often, but when we did, I always wanted Emma to feel safe. "Every day," Emma said. "But missing her doesn't mean I don't love you. It just means I have space in my heart for both." "That's very wise, baby." "I learned it from you," she said. The next day, I gave my keynote speech. I talked about educational equity, about funding disparities, about the teachers who spend thousands of their own dollars on classroom supplies, about the children who fall through the cracks because the system is broken. And at the end, I told my story, not for pity, not for sympathy, but as an example. 4 years ago, I said to 5,000 educators, my family told me I was making a mistake by choosing to teach. They said I was wasting my potential. They said I should pursue something more prestigious, more lucrative, more impressive. The room was silent. And you know what? They were right about one thing. Teaching did cost me. It cost me relationships with people who couldn't see the value in what we do. It cost me a place in a family that valued status over service. I paused. But teaching also gave me everything that matters. It gave me purpose. It gave me a community of people who understand that changing a child's life is the most important work anyone can do. It gave me a real family. People who love me not for what I've achieved, but for who I am. I looked at Marcus and Emma in the front row. So to every teacher in this room who has ever been told you're not good enough, that you should have done more, been more, earned more, I want you to know something. You are enough. What you do every single day is enough. And anyone who can't see that doesn't deserve a place in your life, not even if they're family. The standing ovation lasted 4 minutes. After the speech, hundreds of people waited in line to talk to me, to shake my hand, to tell me their stories. A woman in her 70s told me her father never forgave her for becoming a teacher instead of a lawyer. He died without ever visiting her classroom. A young man told me his parents kicked him out when he chose special education over medical school. He hadn't spoken to them in 6 years. A middle-aged woman told me her husband divorced her because he was embarrassed to tell his colleagues his wife was just a teacher. Every single one of them thanked me for saying what they'd been feeling for years. Every single one of them had chosen meaning over money. Every single one of them had paid a price for it. And every single one of them would do it again. Because that's what real dedication looks like. That's what real love for the work looks like. It looks like choosing the hard path because it's the right path. That night, back in our hotel room, Marcus ordered champagne. Emma was allowed 1 sip, which she said tasted more like sparkly sour juice, and didn't want any more. We sat on the balcony overlooking the Capitol building. The lights of the city twinkled below us. You changed lives today, Marcus said. I told the truth today, I corrected. And they changed their own lives by hearing it. Emma was curled up in a chair, almost asleep. Mom? Yeah, baby. I'm glad you're my mom. Not because you're famous or important, just because you're you. And that right there, that was worth more than any award, any keynote speech, any recognition. That was everything. 3 months later, another letter arrived. Same handwriting, same expensive paper. I didn't open it. I put it in the folder with the first one. Marcus watched me do it. You sure? I'm sure. No regrets. I thought about it. Really thought about it. No, I said finally. No regrets. I gave her 18 years to love me as I was. She chose not to. I gave her 4 more years to realize what she'd lost. She didn't. And now I'm giving myself the rest of my life to be free from waiting for her approval. Marcus pulled me close. I'm proud of you. For what? For knowing when enough is enough. For choosing yourself. For building something beautiful from the ashes of something broken. That night, I burned both letters in our fireplace. I watched the expensive paper curl and blacken. I watched my mother's careful handwriting disappear into smoke. Emma and Marcus sat with me while I did it. What are you thinking about? Emma asked. I'm thinking about a girl who spent her whole life trying to be enough for people who would never see her as enough, I said, and I'm thinking about how glad I am that I'm not her anymore. What are you now? Marcus asked. I smiled. I'm a teacher. I'm a mother. I'm a wife. I'm someone who knows her worth isn't determined by people who can't see it, even if those people share my DNA. The last piece of paper turned to ash, and I felt lighter than I had in years. 5 years after the awards ceremony, I was named State Superintendent, the youngest person to ever hold the position. My mother didn't try to attend that ceremony. Victoria sent a congratulations card. I didn't respond. Bradley sent flowers. I donated them to a nursing home. Rachel came to the ceremony with her own family. She'd always been on my side. She always would be. Emma was 16 by then. She volunteered at an after-school tutoring program. She still wanted to be a teacher. Marcus had expanded his farm. He employed 5 people and supplied fresh food to 23 schools across the state. We were happy. We were whole. We were enough. And that's the thing about family, real family, the kind that matters. They don't love you because of what you've achieved. They love you when you haven't achieved anything yet. They love you when you're struggling, when you're failing, when you're figuring it out. They love you not for the image you project, but for the person you are when no one's watching. My mother loved the state superintendent, but she never loved Ingrid, and I'd rather be loved as Ingrid by a handful of people who truly see me than be loved as an achievement by thousands who only see my resume. I teach Emma this every day. I teach it to the teachers I train. I teach it to myself on the hard days when the doubts creep in. Your worth is inherent. It's not earned. It's not conditional. It's not dependent on other people's approval. It just is. And anyone who can't see that, even if they're your mother, doesn't deserve access to your life. That's the truth I learned on that stage 5 years ago. That's the truth that set me free. This video features a fictional narrative crafted with AI tools for storytelling and entertainment, not based on real news or specific individuals.